I'm at the start of my first official overlanding trip. I'm exploring the southeast corner of Utah, a little bit of Arizona, and the Lake Powell area. It's going to be 6 days of amazing views and camping. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm starting my trip in one of the most remote areas in the United States. At first glance, what appears to be a harsh, unforgiving desert is actually a land filled with life and history, from 300-million-year-old bones to 13,000 years of human habitation. The more I learned about the area, the more I knew I had to see it for myself, so I loaded up on water and extra fuel and hit the trail. The plan for the next 2 days is to explore Bears Ears National Monument. The monument protects 1.3 million acres of public land, stretching from the northeast corner of Canyonlands National Park near Moab, Utah, all the way south to the Valley of the Gods, close to the Arizona border. A place where you can spend all day on the trail and not see another soul. A place where you can truly connect with nature. The perfect place to get away from it all and find more dirt and more distance. I call this my first overlanding trip because I usually find a campsite and explore the immediate area. This trip, I'm camping at a different location every night and covering a lot of ground. I packed really light, only bringing the necessities, so I can quickly set up and break down camp, especially since the days are getting shorter. The road isn't difficult. A stock vehicle with a little clearance, all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive could easily handle it in dry conditions. You start at the desert floor with views of high mesas and towering spires, before climbing in elevation until you're surrounded by juniper shrubs and staring down into the canyons. Then in a blink of an eye, you're surrounded by pine trees and aspens. It's hard to believe that just a few hours ago, I was in the desert. It was a long day of driving, and I was looking forward to setting up camp for the night. I felt hopeful that the spot I wanted would be available because I could count on one hand how many people I saw all day. Like and subscribe to see more of my off-road content. Finally, I arrived, and the view of the canyon did not disappoint. I tried a little different camp setup this time. Usually I have a ground tent, and that has worked pretty well. It's super easy to set up, but I've having some quality issues with it. So I was curious about trying something new. So I saw this tent on Amazon where it fits on the back of your truck, and I was like, it might be something nice to try for this trip because I'm going to be camping in multiple different spots. I don't know what the ground's going to be like. Am I going to have a problem staking into the ground, which I've had an issue with that in Moab because it can be just rock. This way it's secured right into, is attached right to the truck, so I don't have to worry about that. And I am going to do a video about this. This is a really nice spot. It's actually big enough for 1, 2, 3, maybe 5. I think you could probably fit 5 vehicles with the spot up here if you wanted to, if you were a really big group. And you got a really nice viewpoint here of the canyon. I even got a few bars up here. Day 1, night 1 in the books. So far it's been a great trip. Now I'm going to start making my way back down, head to the Valley of the Gods. There's a ton of history and artifacts down there, so it should be really cool and a totally different environment than what I got up here. My takeaway from the first day and night on my solo overlanding trip was I can see the real benefit of a rooftop tent if this is how you like to travel. Setting up and breaking down took a while. The road descends back down to the desert in the small town of Blanding, weaving up, down, and around the canyon walls. After a couple of long days on the trail, it was nice to find a gas station so I could replenish my snacks and use the bathroom indoors. I had to put in some miles on the pavement traveling down Highway 95, also known as the Trail of the Ancients, to get to my next campsite in the Valley of the Gods. The Trail of the Ancients scenic byway goes through Colorado and Utah and has several stops along the route at archaeological, cultural, and historic sites of the ancient Puebloan people, also known as the Anasazi. One of those stops is the Butler Wash Ruins. The hike to the Butler Wash Ruins from the trailhead is half a mile one way. The trail is marked and easy to follow. It goes to an observation area. I don't think you're actually allowed to hike on the ruins themselves. It's believed that these cliff dwellings were occupied over 800 years ago. I love seeing how people lived in the past. I'm glad places like this are being preserved. On to the next stop, the Mule Canyon Ruins. Points of interest in the area, and I've actually been to quite a few of these already. Up there is Island in the Sky for Canyonlands, Dead Horse State Park, Elephant Hill I believe is right there, Newspaper Rock right here. I believe I was up here just last night. Right now I'm right down in here, heading down here to Valley of the Gods. And ultimately going to end up over here, head up to somewhere around there to Escalante Boulder and back up to Hanksville. This trip has been incredible. There's not one bad view in the entire region. Just look at this. You have the San Juan River down there in the canyon. Right back there is Monument Valley. I'm hitting that on my way to Lake Powell tomorrow morning. And we got over here, we got the canyon below. There's dispersed sites all along this road, and now I'm about to take the Mookie Dugway down into Valley of the Gods to find my camp spot for tonight. The Valley of the Gods is on BLM land, and the road is 13 miles long. There's dispersed camping all along the route. It is a good alternative if you can't make it to Monument Valley. Well, made it to the camping spot for day 2 of my overlanding journey down here in Valley of the Gods, and it is incredible. Keep on saying it. It keeps on being true. It's still part of Bears Ears National Monument on BLM. So there's dispersed camping all along the trail. Definitely more people here than I saw on the first day. On the first day, I probably saw 5 people the entire day. But this area is quite a bit more popular. There was people up at the top over at Muley Point. As it came down here, there was people in dispersed campsites all along the trail. Matter of fact, I was starting to worry that some of my top choices would be gone. But thankfully, this one is still available. I'm going to break down and enjoy the place. No light pollution and a clear night sky were the perfect conditions to try some night photography. The next stop is Lake Powell, but on the way I'll have to see Monument Valley. This is the iconic spot from Forrest Gump. People were laying, sitting, and standing in the middle of the road taking pictures.
Monument Valley is on the Navajo Reservation. You have to pay a fee to enter the park. There's a 17-mile self-guided driving loop, but a guided tour is also offered. You'll need a guide if you want to see the other areas of the park. I had to drive the loop pretty quickly so I could make it to Lake Powell before it got dark. I'm camping at Alstrom Point overlooking Lake Powell tonight. The water level has decreased significantly over the past few years, but I'm hopeful I'll still be able to see some amazing views of the water.
It was a long day of driving, but I finally made it out here, Alstrom Point at Lake Powell, and it is amazing even though there's no water. It's very little water if you compare it to pictures from a few years ago. Still a beautiful place, and I need to hurry up and get set up before the sun gets down here. That has to be one of the best sunrises I've seen in a while. It's absolutely beautiful out here. The night went really well. It was actually the warmest night so far on the trip, and it's beautiful this morning. Gonna enjoy the scenery for a few more minutes. I gotta pack up, hit the road, and keep it moving.
Lake Powell is incredible. I'd love to come back and stay on the water, maybe next year, but for now I'm heading north to Escalante and the Bird Trail. The climb to the top of the mesa is steep with loose rocks and gravel and turns into a narrow shelf road. This campsite is right off of the road once you get to the top and has a great view. It was nice to have a fast, flat, wide open section of road, even if it was only for a few miles. The trail eventually heads into the town of Escalante. From there I took the highway to Boulder and the start of the Bird Trail. The Bird Trail is mostly paved and ends in the southern tip of the Capitol Reef National Park. The two main attractions on the trail are Long Canyon and the Bird Switchbacks.
I reached my camp spot for tonight. Not a bad site by any means, but definitely not as good as any of the other ones I've had. I might not have the solitude that I want, as over there just the Bird Trail Road. Aren't a ton of spots here. We'll see how the night goes. It is windy. Well, last night was pretty good. The wind died down, but it is coming back. So once I get to a spot with some reliable cell signal, I'm going to check the weather in the general area, because for this specific area, according to the forecast I got, is the winds are going to pick up significantly this afternoon, up to 30 plus miles per hour, and then there's a possibility of some rain/snow at night. And the plan was to explore Henry Mountain and camp up there at about 9,000 feet or so, which would not be a good idea, because if it's going to be like that here, up a couple more thousand feet means it's going to be quite a bit worse. So I'm not sure if I'm going to try to camp someplace else or in the trip a little early.
Once you enter the national park, the road is no longer paved, and you get to take the burr switchbacks down into the valley. I almost lost my camera right here. I drove for probably a good quarter mile before I realized it was gone. Thankfully, it is okay. This is the start of the burr switchbacks and the end of the burr trail. Once you get to the bottom, you can head north to Hanksville or south towards Lake Powell. I headed north to check out the Henry Mountains.
Well, I'm about 40 miles outside of Hanksville at the start of Henry Mountain Road. The plan for the rest of the day and tonight was to go up into the Henry Mountains, camp up there, and then go down into Hanksville, and that would be the end of the trip. I don't know if you could hear it. The wind is howling right now, and I was able to get the forecast down in Hanksville, which is an elevation of about 4,400 feet. They're getting gusts up to 40 miles per hour today, and 100% chance of rain tonight, which means up in the mountains that has an elevation of about 9 to 10,000 feet depending where you are on the trail. That means they are going to most likely get snow. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut the trip short.